So we did a lot, but I have a question for all of you. Um, what was your, I guess, surprised? What short surprised you the most in the way that like you ended up liking it when you thought you might not?
I have an easy answer for that one.
That's tough to say. With a lot of these, I didn't know what they were.
and still don't know what
Uh,
they are.
mine would be Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Is that just because
Uh,
there was the music video?
no, it's I knew the show existed. I didn't know any plot stuff with it, but it never really grabbed my attention. So when you threw that out there, I'm like, okay, it's probably gonna be like a 6 or something. But I ended up enjoying it, so that was a surprise. I had an expectation going into that one.
Fair enough. Sinister.
uh, pick surprised me the most was probably probably a boy in his Atom. That was very. I mean, I should have expected it because Crimson Goes Down. Those weird
The
passage
uncharted
on
past.
yeah, he'll just like something will get recommended. He'll just find it, and then so it did make sense for him, but it was not something that I think generally I would have thought would have been picked.
Springs.
Your question was for something we didn't know that we liked.
Yeah,
I don't think I have a answer out of all of them.
because I don't need to ask you which one surprised you the most because I think I won that
Well,
category.
yeah, that's why I'm asking for the definition of your question,
Yeah,
because I do have
one
an
that
answer
like.
for surprised me to be the least liked, because a lot of these for me were blind. I didn't know what they were.
All right. Well, I guess answer that question then. Surprised
That was
you that you
Assassin's
least
Creed
like.
Ember. I like Assassin's Creed things, and I think that may be one of the worst Assassin's Creed things I've ever intaked.
Yeah, yeah. I can agree with that. Like I said, it's very much dependent on. I also think it's dependent on the proximity to completing Ezio's story. Usually.
I
Uh,
think the aging of the animation did it.
yeah, that's true. Hello,
Your choice.
everyone. Welcome to the Cheap Seat Critics podcast. Our recap. I'm one of your hosts, a geeky writer.
Crimson Red.
I'm another host, a character called Sinister Boy.
And I'm Sprinks, and before anyone starts jabbing me with something to jab with, socials we got TikTok, we got Instagram, we got Facebook, we got LetterBox, we got YouTube and Rumble if you're interested in the visual side of things, because audio podcast, but we do have some visual stuff, as well as a Twitter as well. However, everything's Cheap Seat or at Cheap Seat Critics Pod except the Twitter. The Twitter ends with a CRITIX, so don't let that confuse you. Also, if you're listening
Yeah,
to this when this
season.
came out, Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year's, everybody.
Stick to your resolutions. I failed mine. I probably failed it already.
You
You
failed
should
your
never
newest one
ever.
today?
I
Yeah,
did. I failed today.
it was probably don't eat any more cookies, and he's already eating it. He's eating a cookie right now.
The New
Actually,
Year's resolution that Crimson needs to be doing is of never going back to Little Caesars Pizza.
you know what?
It's
This is in the new year of this coming out. This is not New Year's Day. Oops. Sprinks
he
misdid the
Sprinkster did a
math.
boo boo.
Yeah, Sprinks forgot about the holiday specials we did. Oops.
You did.
Therefore,
And
I
that is
did
stinging.
screw up my New Year's resolution. So
Well, we're
there we
like 2
go.
weeks. We're 2 weeks ahead. New Year's Day was
I
2
screwed
weeks
it up.
behind or something.
Well, you're
We're
giving
close.
away our hidden secrets. Come on, we gotta have something here. It's
No, that was in the script. It said Book of Destiny right here. That Springs was allowed to do that.
Yes, that's right. It was written in the book.
Yeah.
15 years ago.
I wonder how Kang feels about the Book of Destiny.
He's not affected by it because they're not
DC and
going
Marvel.
through with that in Marvel anymore. They're steering away from the Kane Chronicle.
Maybe. Possibly.
Probably. We'll
Probably.
see.
That's
One
a
can
mess.
hope.
It's always fun to see how the train wreck is going. We should tune back into that
You know,
eventually soon.
yeah, we just turn back into a
So
pumpkin.
Am I the one who keeps up with
season
Marvel?
12 was our short season. No,
I
I've
mean,
been
I keep
keeping
up
up
with
with it.
Marvel. I
Well,
only keep up with the
as
dumpster
in
fire stuff.
the
Yeah.
what it's about. I don't watch them anymore.
Oh,
I'm behind on
that's
Uh,
that.
me.
Let's see. I mean, I'm probably at this point. I probably have finished Loki season 2. So
By this point, it's come out.
yeah,
Yeah.
as of recording, I'm about halfway through it, and I guess it's better than season 1 technically.
Hey,
Tom Hiddleston.
you wait
Tom
for that
Hiddleston
finale.
certainly can act. Yeah,
Oh, dude,
yeah.
the
Yeah,
hair
he's
flipping.
no
Whew!
surprise there.
All
She could
that just
certainly
is the
act.
pilot. I have to
What a
want
good
to
part of the show.
season 2. That I've seen. So that was
I
Sprinks.
I just like to watch them burn. That's the only news I keep up with.
I mean, like I said, I'm watching. I'm here to watch the train wreck at this point.
I I like to watch the downfall. Sorry.
As of here, I don't know when Echo comes out. That should be soonish, if not already.
Hopefully it doesn't.
As of recording this, I have unfortunately plans to see the Marvels, despite my best attempts to get out of it.
Oh boy.
So might get a little brief look into that later down the line, maybe.
I mean, I'll tell you how I survived my
Yeah,
theater
maybe we'll cover
experience.
it.
Yeah.
Please
Oh
no.
no!
I don't want
Please,
to
yeah,
rewatch
please,
it.
no.
I'm a one and done with this. I am not coming
We
back.
dodged the She-Hulk bullet. I want to dodge the Captain or the Marvels.
What do you mean dodged?
The
We
minefield
knew
of
if
You're
we
right.
could
It went
dodge.
right through my head, and I'm not aware I'm dead yet. That's what it is.
no.
Sorry for you,
We had a
She-Hulk fans.
season on
I'm still
Shorts.
vouching for you.
That-
Sorry.
That's true. We did have a season on Shorts.
It's very different. Lots of stuff covered,
Lots of stuff
spanning a lot of
uncovered.
different subject matters. We had 3 video game things. I wasn't expecting 3 of those.
Yeah,
That
and
was about
balloon
what I
things.
expected.
I was
Yeah,
about to ask
expected
what
more.
the 3 of them are, and then I realized I picked 2 of them. So
Yeah, you did technically.
technically,
Well, technically, it was an
Techni-
anime based on a video game, but
technically, it was an anime based off a video game based off a book. So
Well, before that, you
genre.
pitched Division, which was a game as well.
oh, that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, so we would have ended up with 3 regardless.
I was actually expecting more, so 3 was actually a surprise that it was less.
Yeah, there's no. We kind of decided that there was no Disney or Pixar shorts because that's gonna
Yeah,
potentially
we
be something later.
independently
Yeah, we
thought of
all
that.
independently decided to do.
Yeah, it's
Um,
like, well, mostly just because we were pretty sure everybody was gonna already have that point of reference. So
we as a result though, we definitely diversified our picks. I think. Uh, what I am surprised though, given the history that we all have with Overwatch, that no Overwatch shorts made it in.
that's for this.
There's enough Overwatch that I think could be its own thing.
At this point, probably, yeah.
Yeah, there's gonna be an
Hold on.
Overwatch book series, an Overwatch movie series. Microsoft's gonna get behind it.
There was a
There's a
TV
chance they
show,
consider.
right?
No, there's no
They're
show.
planning. No, no, I know that I know there's not one right now, but I know there were in talks for one. I don't know how wherever that went though.
Probably wherever video game
Yeah.
shows go.
Nothing's been confirmed on any shows. It's been all
So at this
rumors.
point, Netflix, that's where all the quote unquote good video game shows go.
Where they're going so
Amazon
far.
Prime.
The Tomb Raider one's coming.
Ye-
Yeah, can't wait to hear Crimson's thoughts on that.
I hope it's good. I hope Scott
So do
Pilgrim's
I.
good.
I think something would be good.
Got
Yeah,
some
we got a bunch
potential
of shorts.
Netflix stuff.
Yeah, that came out
Yeah,
November
we have
17th,
shorts.
I think.
Coming
Yeah, it's this
out,
month.
yeah, this month comes out November.
Yeah, well, yeah, for
If you're
hearing.
speaking in terms of recording currently, it comes out tomorrow. If you're
But
talking
we
in
don't
terms of
date our
this being
stuff.
released, it came out months ago.
I like how we were really careful not to do this before, and now we don't care anymore, so we're just doing whatever.
Strong word
Yeah,
of
well-
we.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Me, I was avoiding this, so you know. Anyways,
Oh, Sinister, you missed out on a couple of Sprinks' picks. What were your thoughts on
by a
those?
couple, you mean all, but yeah.
Well, yes.
He's being polite, but yeah,
Yeah.
you got the stage is yours, sir. You have to catch us up.
They
on
don't
what you
really.
thought.
I guess you could say you miss out on a thruple
Yes, it's Robert.
of Sprinkses. Yeah, because couple is two. My thoughts, my feelings, my
and your
dreams,
concerns. Yeah.
my concerns. Yeah, my concerns.
And your ratings for the
I'm
audience.
concerned that this might be a regular. Yeah. Yeah, my ratings for the three of them, I'll go in, I guess, the order that they were put out, I'm assuming. Was Paperman was an 8, Uncharted live action fan film was an 8, and then The Kid in the Camera, which I keep calling The Boy in the Camera because we had a boy in the Atom and his Atom. So we had two things that were worded somewhat similar. I made the red balloon, so whatever. But the Kid in the Camera was 9.
Okay. And what are your thoughts on them individually, though? I'm
Uh,
more curious about Kid in the
I mean,
Camera.
had
It
you seen them
screamed
before?
like you.
I'd seen Paperman before, yeah. I think I might have watched a little bit of the Uncharted thing when it was like big, came out like 2018 or something. I think I might have saw like a little bit of it. I definitely didn't finish it, but I'd never seen The Kid in the Camera. What I think about them? I mean, Paperman is just fine. It's classic 2D, 2D-ish Disney silent film, which they should probably go back to. Given their recent string. My opinion, not the same as everybody's, but I think I have some. I think I have some similarity with that. Uncharted one's good. I liked it. I haven't seen the Tom Holland, but I'm sure this is a million times better. Just that it's actually like the games, or
As
at
someone
all
who has
similar to the
seen
games.
the
Yeah,
as someone who has seen the Tom Holland version, be assured you are very correct in that assumption.
yeah. Because I just remember everybody was always saying Nathan Fillion is Nathan Drake, mostly just because I think his first name is Nathan. I don't think they share any physical They have the same first
They,
name, which
they
is
sh-
always the best casting.
yeah, they share a few
It's
similarities.
because it's really easy because you can just be like Nathan, and he's not going to be like what or not respond. So you know, and the Kid in the Camera I like because I'm a big fan of Blender stuff, and it's a Blender animation, and I think that's what everybody should use for animation nowadays is Blender because it's open source and you can have access to a bunch of stuff for free, which
Yeah, yeah. The general thing at this point for like artists and animators is just go for the open source stuff because it's so nice. I guess the
oh yeah,
communities
there's
that
a
it
whole
puts around.
community. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
whole community where if you have any questions, they will gladly help you. It's a great tool. Um, and I almost would have given the Kid and the Camera a 10, but the frame rate wasn't that into. I understood the aesthetical reference. I understood what they were going for. I just didn't like it.
Uh, I have a follow up question for Kid in the
Hmm.
Camera, and this is
Yeah.
because Sprinks asked it. When did you think it was made
When did I think it was
originally?
made?
Yeah, or
Well, I
did you
mean,
know
because
it was a
I mean, I knew it was Blender the second I booted up. I was like, okay, I know this is Blender, so I knew it was recent, like in the last like couple years, because Blender hasn't been around that long. But but the aesthetic that they were going for was kind of like mid to late '90s, I'm sure. Like because the graphics reminded me of like the old Dreamcast, like 3D stuff, and like those old like point and click kind of adventure games, which I'm sure is the style they were sort of going for.
Mhm.
Like or like storybook style like point and click. But yeah, they were definitely going for a '90s vibe, no doubt. Late
Sprinks,
'80s, early
being
'90s.
being your shorts, did you have any questions regarding them?
About my own shorts I chose?
Well, for me,
For
if I was asked,
Sinister,
Sinister,
who
yes.
Oh,
you don't have the thoughts
towards
on?
Sinister. I mean, you kind of covered
no,
it
at
all.
me.
No, no,
Okay.
You didn't have any questions?
no. I mean, you rated them pretty all highly, 2 8s and a 9, almost a 10.
Okay, I guess. I guess I have one question then for Paperman.
Hmm.
How did you feel about the paper airplanes? General thoughts on
Uh,
them.
I mean, it was something I kind of even when I originally saw it, I expected because it's Disney. Disney and Magic are kind of like two sides of like the same coin. They're just like innately gonna go for if there's gonna be a magical thing, it's gonna have a purpose of pushing the story forward. And that was kind of what they did there. In practice, it's not my favorite form. I mean, I like the stuff where you don't really question it too much, or you don't really need to question it too much, I guess. In and in that, it was like kind of like that, where I was just like, okay, it's Disney. Disney's gonna do magic, so I don't. I'm not gonna question it probably as much if it was like a whole big thing of like, and it's like a short, so it's not like I'm like gonna be like, okay, I need to know where's the witch did the incantation on the lipstick that then created the living paper that then created all these other living papers, whatever kind of thing. It's like, oh yeah, it's Disney. Disney's gonna do magic, and it's gonna be somewhat not follow a certain set of rules of magic that I think I would normally go for. But so I did knock it a little bit just for that, but I didn't. I was like, okay, but I like the rest of it because Disney. What Disney does best is just that classic kind of 2D style animation, black and white with some color.
Yes, I'll jump into one of our standard questions, being surprise ratings, my favorite,
Kind of keep
or
that door
general
open.
thoughts of ratings through the season. I guess I'll go first for it.
Give us a little example.
This is for a writer.
Oh boy.
This one uh, pretty much stood out immediately once we covered it to me. So I'm glad I remembered. Uh, so for best friend, you gave that an objective 8.5, which kind of surprised me because we brought up a lot of world building issues, which is a good chunk of your scale because you do character and
Yeah, I do.
consistencies and world building stuff. So
Yeah.
I thought that would have been a bigger hit considering how short the short is and how many
Usually,
issues came up.
yeah. Usually, my world building accounts for about uh 2.5 points, roughly thereabouts. Um, yeah, to be fair, that's the one that stood out to me even after I said it as well, because I went more off of what I had written previously rather than what was in the podcast, because I was had a lot of things in my mind. Um, so I'm happy to say I got that one wrong, like flat out. Because I've had some time to think on it. That's probably closer to a seven or 7.5, I think, on my actual objective scale. Because you guys spotted a lot of things before. You guys spotted a lot of things on the podcast that I didn't when I was going through it. And that definitely affected my scale, but I didn't have time to adjust it live on the podcast.
Okay.
So,
Well, that was a lot faster than I thought. I had a whole follow up. I'll
oh,
ask it anyways because it's just good information in
mhm.
general. So let's say we have 5 issues in Best Friend, 5 minutes short. Everything else is acceptable and do account. And then we cover something that's an hour and a half. 5 issues, anything else is comparable to Best Friend. Would that number end up being the same, or does the length take into account like a ratio
Oh,
of what's
oh,
covered?
yeah, like a ratio of what they got wrong. It kind of
Yeah.
depends on how broken the rules that are introduced. Generally, I think that is the correct rule to go by. Is that the ratio of what they get right versus what they get wrong. But generally, uh, the exception to that being is just how much does that particular world building rule they introduce break everything. The easiest one to pick, I suppose, in terms of world building is sorry MCU, but you're the easy punching bag in this case. It would be time travel introduced in Endgame. That's pretty much it's just an option that they all now actively can do because they didn't need the time stone for that. They needed the pin particles, which they have still all the ant people and their technology is being spread throughout the world. So it's one of those things where that's I view as a very very big world building hit in the grand scheme of the MCU as a whole. Um, so I guess that's how my interpretation of how it goes is if it can fundamentally undermine the world as a whole, it's gonna leave a bigger mark. But generally, it's gonna be ratios. Um, that's kind of how I balance the two. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So if both the errors on them were comparable, but the same number, the shorter thing would have a larger hit just based off of ratio on just in
Um,
comparable numbers, not if you have an
yeah,
outlier of a big issue, then it would tip the scale, obviously, in a
Yeah,
comparative
if
sense.
in terms of that, I think it would, because when you're doing something really short, you have to be very efficient with your script writing. You have to be very efficient with your animation. You have to be efficient with everything you do because you only have so much time to tell this particular story, which means every flaw that you make is going to leave a bigger impact. So I would say that it's would affect, unfortunately, that more.
Okay, that answered my question. Someone else want to jab at the standard question? I think.
The surprised rating. Um,
Price the rating or observations of
I
the
was
season
I was surprised a
ratings.
little when Sinister thought he made history with the first 10,
I felt really bad
being
on
that
that
you
one.
were present for the National Treasure with Crimson and I.
I
Or
mean,
was
we
that
also have.
the
I
first
mean, I
one?
also have a history of not remembering anything, so it wasn't really embarrassing.
Crimson, that was the first
Uh,
National Treasure, right?
Yeah, not the
yeah,
second one.
Okay, so Ryder was there as well.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was there for the first two, and I was not there for the show. Thank God.
you weren't
No,
there
you
for the
weren't. You
second
weren't
one.
there for the second one.
You
Uh,
were, but then we had scheduling stuff, so we had
oh,
to.
yeah. So I
We
gave my rating
covered
for it, I think.
a lot of your thoughts on the recap with it. A good chunk of the recap was you were
Yeah.
reviewing it.
Okay, so that's why I felt like I was there. You're right. No, see, my memory's just as bad as you said, sir. No worry.
Mm.
Mm.
It's what I get for writing 5 stories at a time. It's just constantly working in my head.
I guess I am slightly surprised that there's a lot of tens, though.
It's a high numbered season overall.
Yeah, it's true. Um, does anyone want to talk about why they think that might be?
I got a theory. No one's got one.
Sure. I mean, take
All
it
right.
away.
So I think with them being shorts, there's no fear of having a too long of a discussion. Like if we were doing the best stuff, like I'd be throwing out Scott Pilgrim. That's something I don't want to cover because it would be a very long coverage. But for shorts, you could throw out your best short and it's only going to be so long. So I think this is just, at least for me, a safer option to have your favorites with a decent amount of time to cover it. Don't know
Yeah,
if
I
others
think.
think the same way.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
a fair. I think it's a fair assumption. I think on that one. I also think that uh, there's in a short, like I said, there's stuff that you can get wrong more, but there's a way that shorts can also get a bunch of stuff right for you personally or objectively much quicker too, without as many flaws because they don't have the time for flaws to crop up.
Well,
So,
yeah,
I
like
mean, it's,
Boyne as Adam, it's so simple that it's hard for them to screw up anything. So
yeah.
Mhm.
out of Ryder and me got a high objective just because there was very little they could screw up in what they could present.
Mhm. So yeah, I'd
And
say
Kid and his camera.
yeah. I think it'd be an amalgamation of both those things.
After going
It's
through the
time to cause
snake
the show.
draft, it kind of showed that this it was different of myself for you three of how the snake draft worked, of me seeing it as like the trying to get the upper hand on someone versus personal choice. And I think Sinister stands out a little because all three choices are Don Hertzfeld work, which you do enjoy,
Mhm.
Sinister. So I think it was more in the realm of like personal favorites versus the variation towards or against someone else. And I don't think it necessarily went into the fear aspect at all of choosing something that's supposed to be bad or lower, because we did do the season 6. If you haven't listened to any of that, over things we don't like. I don't know if anyone was on the spectrum of thinking that to choose something bad just to get the other thoughts of everyone else into viewing it. So it seemed to be a lot of like favorites of personal choice uh, through the snake draft, and then our decides of what the 12 we went with.
Well,
Yeah,
for me, I picked the Boy and his Adam as kind of a joke pick, but I also was curious what we could actually say on it. And Red Balloon, I didn't expect any high numbers out of that. I thought you guys would think it would be boring, which
Well, you
a
were
couple of
right.
you did.
Yeah.
which
Um,
I did, but
so
I
my
think that's
my
the
intention
lowest
with Red
number out
Bull
of all of
Balloon,
them.
Let's
yeah, my intention with that was not to put out a good short. That was not my headspace. Death was that one. That one had intent for high numbers, but the other two, that was not my intent going in.
and I'm sure I said it in the same draft. Say it again. Uh, I picked 3 Don Hertzfeldt things because I love Don Hertzfeldt, and he only does shorts. He has 1 feature, he almost does shorts. And I was like, okay, this is the only time I'm gonna be able to do any of his stuff. I picked kind of like
Capitalized on it.
this. Yeah, I mean, I picked 3. I probably didn't say it in my actual thing of it, but I picked 3 that were sort of seminal to his overall style, but not necessarily coherently the same. Just Billy's Balloon was like the first thing that was a big thing for him, and then Rejected, nominated for an Oscar, and then Meaning of Life is all those things are kind of became little things later on, and all this other stuff down the line. But because he had like 3 student films before that one that I didn't pick, and he had a bunch of other shorts later on that I didn't pick either.
Yeah, I guess I'll go into mine a little bit. I did have some not as good picks on my list, but I ended up just going with stuff that I liked. And Best Friend being kind of the exception because what I do remember from that before the snake draft, I remembered thinking it was pretty mid, and I think it's still pretty mid having covered it with you guys. So
Hmm. Yeah, you give that a subjective 7. So that would be in line with your mid baseline.
yeah, higher end
Um,
of mid, but yeah.
yeah, but still there. Uh, Ryder, did you have a surprise rating or observation?
um, I guess I did have a couple, but it's on like I said with it springs. It doesn't necessarily pertain to your objective scale, but I'm more curious as to why I guess the Don Hortzfeld shorts didn't fare very well. I mean, mostly referring to Billy's Balloon and Rejected on your objective scale. Because I think they both still accomplished their goals they set out to do very well, but don't know what holds it back objectively for you.
Well, Billy's Balloon was just kind of that middle ground of not a lot to it of usage, of the world and the cinematography usage and the lighting and anything. Like animation is a little bit more difficult for me to judge on that aspect of it. Um, so I, 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 I'm sure I went into more detail when we covered it for Sinisters in that episode, but it just
Yeah,
like
this whole math section,
yeah, the whole math
the
set,
whole math section. If you
all
want
the
to check that out,
elements to go with it, I think just went to that scoring. Rejected, however, out of everything we've covered this season, Rejected was the hardest one for me to get a rating on, and that was mostly because of information I did not know of watching it, and I didn't want to go out of my way to look for it because I knew that would change it. That's why I wanted to do it in the episode itself with facts Sinister gave, because I had 2 very different scores. I think I actually have it in my notebook for Rejected, and the easiest thing for me to do was to just factor them out to the average because I thought that would be the most fair because of me not knowing. So
Oh, right.
yeah,
Yeah,
my
you mentioned.
objective score was mostly pertained to if the ending was decided to begin with or if it was random. Just little thing here, little thing here about the story of all the uh, television like intro situations for the Family Learning Center and all that. If that was to get to an ending or not, that affected my scoring from if he did it randomly to get to the end was 5.5, and if he knew the ending from the start it was 8.5, so I averaged it to a 7. And then we discussed it all and I ended that with a 6.5, because Sinister brought up that he came up with the ending halfway through, and then the subjective on it was if the writing of the blurbs for the channels was true or not, because I did not know that until again the episode was brought up. So if the writing was true, I was going to give it a 2.5 because I think that's like the most assholest thing a creative can do to ruin other people's time just for their self like egotistical, selfish goal to create something. And if not, it would have been a 6. So average that out to a 4. And being that it was not, gave it a 6 for that reason.
Okay. I guess my quick
Yeah. You go.
yeah,
You're
my
the last.
my quick follow-up question was then, since you find animation more difficult, I guess with the whole Objective 5 on Billy's Balloon, is it because it lacks those things that it was rated lower? And I know that you said animation is more difficult, but the fact that it
Yes.
lacks lighting and lacks
Lacks the
so
choice
that
of. Yeah, I can
but
because I know it should just be like neutral 5.5 if it's not even apparent compared to like good or bad. So that's why it's harder for me because I have to like try to look for something of that regard. Like for example, comparing Billy's Balloon lighting to Death, the
yeah.
showcase, like you can see the shadowing and lighting differences clearly because Billy's Balloon has a little bit of lighting for the balloon interacting with the kids of like hitting to get the contact has a little bit. So that instance is like, is that to me done well or worse, and is it fit with the creative approach because it's being chosen to be animated that way? So that's why it makes it harder for me to decide. Whereas like live action, it's like it was a choice, but the lighting couldn't have been moved unless they did artificial lighting or found a new place for natural lighting to fit the way chosen. So like that's different. That's how it differs.
Yeah. I
So,
mean,
do you not believe in like stylization then? Because obviously, the Billy's Balloon is a completely different art style
That
than
would fall into
Death.
my subjective.
What? Like,
Objective is lower than.
I
Or
don't
no, it's
know.
higher. It's one higher. Never mind. Sorry.
It's
Stylization
not the same
usage of
thing.
animations I would put in subjective, other objective. Objective, I would not say the animation style of it is a thing. For example, like Assassin's Creed, I thought these Assassin's Creed animation was really poorly done, and that goes into the movement and everything of the characters themselves and how clanky they move, and it's more of the camera work. We touched on like the alley fight scene in Assassin's Creed Embers was a lot of just cuts and everything because it was not, maybe they did have could have the choreography and they had that in storyboarding,
I'm sure
but
they
to
did.
animate it across they didn't have that or choose not to do that. So I went that into the animation side of objective because they chose not to, versus the subjective of the animation itself. So in Billy's Balloon, the animation of the hand drawn style is not necessarily my favorite, but that goes into my subjective choice on that. However, for the objective of hand drawn, they can hand draw on anything. So that's kind of just like open field. I mean, it had a lot of
Well, you
space. It took the, yeah.
you brought up with Assassin's Creed Embers where they chose to do stuff. Don Hertzfeld chose to do that style of the Stickman, so it's his decision to do that style, and he adheres to it. So why is that being compared to what DC decided on their own choice? There's still decisions being made, and they still adhere to what the decisions are. Billy's Balloon doesn't change animation out of the blue for no explanation. It sticks to it. Nothing stands out as being bad. We even complimented the plane going through the cloud. So,
Just
what are your
to
thoughts?
double check I'm hearing you correctly, this is on overall animation choice usage, or is this more for the lighting I touched on earlier?
uh, on my
I mean, it
question,
touches the lighting thing because it's style. The style of Stickman doesn't really adhere to lighting. There's not really much of a lighting choice here, and you compare it to Death, which is a completely different art style. So you'd have different lighting in that, and that could go for 3D animation as well. The lighting's different in that too because it's a different style. So I don't see why there's a blanket lighting objective when it should be adhered to the type of style being adhered to.
I'd like to point out that I've said nothing about this so far, so it's not even.
That's right.
I'm not doing
Trying,
anything.
trying to
I
find
know.
out
I'm
this.
taking a backseat. I'm trying to.
Francis
Yeah.
thought on stylized, or just style, I guess. Actually,
Yeah, I
yeah,
said
my
stylized as subjective.
stylized is subjective. Okay.
no, you
But it
blanketed
seems to
lighting
affect
as
your.
like it's everything. Like you have a base for lighting. When certain styles shouldn't adhere to that base. Like I said, the stick man, there shouldn't be a lighting issue because it's got its own style that doesn't require it. Meanwhile, death does require it because of the style they went for.
But it could be also be death if they took out lighting, like no street lights and it's just pitch black. That's a choice of no lighting, no shadows. It would have all just been one
Yeah,
matte color
then
to
it would be
give
a
it to a
problem.
look. It would be a
That's
problem
my
because of the
that's my
animation
point.
choice, or would it
That's
be
Yeah,
a
what they're
problem
going
because of no
for.
lighting?
What they're going
both.
for
It's the same thing.
requires the lighting. Yeah. What
Because they
this is
chose not
what
to add
Billy's
the
balloon
lighting, it is
what
now
Billy
the lighting itself is now an issue because they chose to do that. It's
what
hand in
Billy's
hand.
what Billy's balloon is going for does not require lighting for you to understand to get like a base of the characters.
And you need a
I,
lighting to get a base of the characters for death.
I'm I'm I'm
Trying
saying
to
like
compare here.
okay, so no okay, so imagine Billy's balloon, but every balloon has its own shadow, every character has its own shadow, everything that could cast a shadow has a shadow. Now, does the style dictate that as necessary? Or is that something that you are just saying it doesn't have that, therefore I can't even fathom like putting it on like because really it doesn't I feel like the style doesn't require that lighting. It's all just, one kind of plane of existence almost of we don't need like the balloon to have it in order to understand that the balloon is moving around thing. Like is it objectively better if there's shadow and in this whole production?
Versus objectively worse without it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it subjectively worse?
You said subjectively?
Yes, it's subjectively.
Probably.
Okay. So it's both subjective and objective, which is a very
We
difficult
already
thing
know
to.
that on his scale.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, I
just
know,
I don't
I know.
understand why that it's subjectively flawed that it doesn't have the shadows. It's gonna be a random thing. I don't know why it popped in my head, but like DC Death, the style they chose is drawing with black outlines for the characters, right? And then you got Blue's Clues, where blue is not drawn with a black outline. Would that be marked down because they didn't adhere to the norm of a black outline for a 2D animation? That
Sub-
doesn't make sense to me.
Subjectively, maybe.
Okay. Trying to.
All right, I'm done with it. I think Ryder posed the question originally, so anything else?
Yeah, I did pose a question originally. The thing I was getting at, Springs, I think because my thing for your objective scale, at least when it comes to Billy's balloon, I don't know what took the points away. So, like for example, in the sense that doesn't it doesn't have shadows or lighting into such a minuscule degree, like why were those points taken away? Because
Because
the animation doesn't require it.
no, it does not require it to be done, but it has the use of it, which means it's in there. So, being that it's
You also. I'll let you. I'll finish. Sorry.
okay, being that it's proven in there takes it as an aspect to me of like, okay, lighting was a choice to be made, and they made it in even the minute, minor way they did. It was still decided to be in this world or this animation of style that they chose. So it has to be seen as a choice of lighting, which is characterized by people in films, and they have like whole lighting departments. So I see that as like not something to be overlooked. So
This
because of the
this
choice of
this
it, I can take it and be like, okay, this lighting, was it done well or bad? Because it's in there. If lighting is not a thing, there's no team on lighting, no choice of lighting, it doesn't exist, it's a 5.5 right in the middle because there's nothing to grade it on good or bad. The fact that it is even in minutely in there shows that there's a thought process towards it, so it has to, so I can grade it on that for my objective of the use of lighting. And being that it is in there very minorly, that means they chose only to put it in one aspect. I can find that bad because they could have written anything else of their choosing, but they decided not to. Or versus that, they could have had overexposure and had lighting everywhere, but they chose one scene where it doesn't, and it's like, okay, what is the significance of not having it present in that area? And then the choice off of that objectively on my scaling.
Okay.
Okay, so the issue. Okay, this is gonna. I guess my last final question is this: how does that not tie into the stylization of it, though?
I see the
Which
style.
you've already said is subjective.
Yes, that's why I said it's very hard for animation because I I try to grade it off. I mean, it's very easier for the writing because the writing kind of matches the live action to the animation, and I talk about camera movements a lot because think camera movements of live action is easier to decide versus animation because animation is kind of just flip booked or in a way. I know not everything. Okay, I'm not talking about everything because someone
Yeah,
could
yeah, I know,
really
no,
take
no
this as
worries.
like me, or it's like thinking Sprinks thinks every animation is like this. It's not. I've touched on animation many times. Go back when we covered Treasure Planet. I talked on the animation
Mm,
how much I praised that for its 2D and 3D CGI usage. It was really good. Anyway, the use of that. My train of thought just disappeared. The
Good
use
for
of
me.
animation in terms of stylizing of subjective to me is hand drawn or claymation or 2D or 3D or the look of like best friend is 2D. I believe best friend is 2D, but the square like corner of the people and the characters and the furniture and the world and everything of that is the stylization of the choice to make it look so. Totally fine on my subjective. The lighting of the bedroom usage of like why is the light on? Is the light on his head? Showing a brighter room situation. It's like that's lighting usage because we see lighting throughout being used. I grade that objectively for the lighting choice on it. I do not see the lighting of that to be the subjective stylization of the animation itself.
okay.
Um, I would just like to touch on this before, because we're gonna have to move past this because this is taking up way too much time. It's not really that necessary, but I guess my problem with it is that we've seen in all three ones that I did of Don Hertzfeld's stuff, they all there's the style stays the same. There's no changing of it. So it wasn't like he picked at some point like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna be lazy today, and I'm gonna not draw in shadows. And I'm just gonna do that today, and then next project I won't be lazy. No, because even in his most meticulous one, which you saw, Meaning of Life, there are no shadow lines. There are no, if there are, it's the camera trick of him shading them with an actual lighting source for the effect, but he doesn't draw it in. So his choice is his stylistic choice, which I feel like kind of overrides the predilection of using specifically a blanket term of lighting, because it's not like he's deliberately choosing to just be lazy and not do it. He is not doing it because that's his style and it fits. He's one person animating everything. If I think he probably there might have been a choice early on of like, if I shadowed everything, I'm never going to finish animation ever because it's going to take me years and years and years. But I feel like it's grown beyond that, where it's no longer just a deliberate choice for keeping the pace of getting something created. He's created his style, which is this very simple stick figure drawing, and I don't feel like it's integral to his stories in order for him to have that. And we know kind of where the characters are, we know where the present is and everything. I think it's a little, if I'm being honest and true, I think it's a little unfair to subject the work to the same strict guidelines if it itself has its own guideline.
Okay, so you're saying in that Don Hertzfeld, the three you presented, all three of those were not designed to have, in what you said, shadowing.
Yes.
Okay, but would you then say that in the three of those, even if it's just one of them, do any of them actually have shadowing, even if not designed that way?
No, I'm like, do you mean like if I thought about it in my head
No.
of that, if
Going
that
through
like,
those three, Billy's Balloon, Rejected, and The Meaning of
uh
Life, do any of those three have actual shadowing in it?
No.
Okay. In that case, I will have to go back, rewatch the three. Next recap, I will bring up those three, and if I found shadowing in any regard, to
Okay, that'll
show
work. And then,
show the visual difference between what I find as shadowing in a project of Don Hertzfeld, for example, uh, to Sinister believing that there are none throughout any of the three.
okay, I'm a little okay. That seems like a little bit of a
Chore.
poke at me or
Yeah.
something. I feel like that's intentionally against me, and I don't really appreciate it. If I'm going to be honest.
Well, no, no, no,
Um,
no. That's not against you in any way. I know you really appreciate Don Hertzfeld's style line and his animation. That's why you chose all three of them. That's totally fine. I'm just trying to give example of to the questioning I'm being given multiple times. You know, every segment there's always the Sprinks' objective scaling segment, um, and trying to give examples of what I see and mean to help maybe give more visual than just audio, like more than just me talking about it. If I can visually show it, it might be more helpful for the 3V to get a little understanding more to what I'm talking about, because everything seems to be just me talking and it seems confusing.
well, because you're kind of talking in circles, so it doesn't really make any sense. If I played back what you said, I'm sure it would not make any sense. It would just be a circular motion of the same words that sound kind of like they make sense, but they don't actually make any.
Okay,
Because
so
I'm
so
hearing
my
it.
objective scaling doesn't make sense to you.
I can't believe we've just gotten there. That's amazing. We've had all these recaps and it's just gotten there. Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
It doesn't make any sense. And because you've gone on record of saying your objective is based on subjective, which is destructive. It destroys it. It
It's
makes it so hard. It makes it so hard to have a rational
yeah,
conversation.
it gets into a little bit more on the side of I have my objective scaling, which is not dictionary definition of objective. I know this and I've talked about this. And how I view things objectively, I've stuck to pretty much from the beginning of how I view objective. The hard thing is, I see Ryder and Crimson continually asking questions to try to get to understand it more. As for Sinister, you seem to be more of destructive of like just telling me stop it and like
I'm not
don't
trying to tell
explain
you
it
to
to me.
stop.
Well, it seems like
I'm not trying to tell you to
when I go
stop.
down
I'm
the
trying
route,
to.
don't interrupt me. When I try to go down the route of trying to explain it more, you just get more and more frustrated, which is hard for me to try to convey it more to you. So I'm
Okay.
giving this Don Hertzfeld shadowing example to maybe give a visual to help you. But it seems like it's just more and more antagonistic towards me and my objective. And I'm trying to find ways to help it, but it just seems
Okay.
to be hurt. I don't know how to exactly help more.
My problem with it is that we've set aside these kind of the I'm not going to say guidelines because I'll be fair, we're all different in how we convey things. Writer is mostly writing, Crimson is kind of down the line, and I'm kind of down whatever. Three very identifiable totem poles of structure. Yours, it seems to vary so far and in between everything. I You could rate some one thing very highly and a similar thing could be entirely different by just very minute things. And then it's very hard when we've set aside these kind of guidelines to create a fairness with judging stuff. And we've gotten a comment before of like only certain group of people who will remain nameless, would do an objective and a subjective thing. And we've already agreed there's no such thing as truly subjective and there's no such thing as truly objective. They're both one side of the same coin. But in order to give a movie or anything a fair shake, we've separated the two for the most part. And I'm kind of the only one who's kind of in the middle. But even I admit that I have a combination of subjective and objective. And I feel like yours, when you kind of say my subjective is based around objective or my objective is based around subjective or what, that kind of destroys the structure we've set up, and it makes it very difficult to have more of a fairness or more of a certain line to tread there. And and that's a very with where we're coming from in reviewing things, it's a very sensitive matter of keeping the two at least separate enough where they're identifiable and they make sense at any point.
Okay, in that
If
regard, I
I
would like to hear from Ryder and
yeah, yeah
Crimson if you
if
both agree
I
with that.
if I might interject, and Crimson, I'm not going to speak for you, but feel free to interject at your leisure because I am going to also kind of allude because I think we're kind of on a similar page as to why we ask Springs from week to week, or week recap to recap of this very similar questions and stuff like that. So feel free to interject if I get your point of view wrong. There are two facets to as to why I frequently ask you questions, Springs, and potentially Crimson as well. Um, the first is that if we don't understand it, the audience doesn't understand it. That's one of the main reasons it constantly comes up. And that's kind of why it was more of jokey towards the end, but it was still something that came up was the light year back and forth that we used to have at the start of our recaps. Because the point is that we ultimately want to give you the chance to explain your point of view because um we like I said, we don't want to get lost on it. And like I said, I thought I understood your scale up until last recap, which is why it was so long. Because I thought there was a certain amount of points per lighting, writing. So each category or what have you had their set amount of points, and then you would take away those points as problems and stuff came up. And all that got thrown out obviously because you said that your objective scale oscillates. So the reason now I'm going to be probably asking you more frequent questions again is because I need a baseline so I can comprehend your scale, just like the audience will need a baseline to comprehend your scale. So from me and Crimson, we don't ask you those questions obviously out of hostility. We want to do it from a place of understanding because I mean, you do have a very unique perspective on filmmaking and art in general. The problem is that, like I said, this does tie back a little bit to what Sinister says, which is that we separated our scales in order to give it as fair a film, an animation, what have you, as fair a shake as possible. And the fact that I guess the fact that it oscillates so much is that we are constantly trying to rebuild our base of understanding. So I don't know if I would call it destructive, but it's definitely confusing at the best of times because, like I said, if we're lost on it, and we're the people who hang out with you fairly often, we watch movies with you, and we talk movies with you all the time, and if we're lost in it, our audience is definitely lost on it.
I agree with that last sentiment fully. I've known you for over a decade, and I feel like if I can't even understand, how is a random person supposed to understand? And I've tried. I think I've been the most trying to get an understanding of it. I've tried to always be kind with it and find different things. I try not to bring up the same topic over and over again. It's always something new, a different comparative. Last time I brought up the budgets and comparing your Halloween Town 1 and 2 and stuff like that. This time lighting came into question a little bit, but that wasn't my question at the open. So it's just difficult because you brought up before how Sinisters is hard for you to probe because it's combined. Yours is combined too. Your objective is combined, which is why it always gets asked because your scale is split into two, but one of your two is still the two. That's why it's confusing. So when you bring up something like the lighting and Billy's balloon, it you then have to compare it to the 60 whatevers we've covered. And if there's a bunch of inconsistencies that I see, then I see your scale itself has inconsistencies, not just you had a hiccup or something. I don't want to say it that plainly, but
I
it
mean, we could
just
pick
is
on
inconsistent. And I study all of our scales a lot because I'm the chart guy, and I love logic, maybe too much. I'm almost a Vulcan. So your subjective objective scale is something it's really hard for me to comprehend because I was with Ryder I got to the point where I was understanding your number assignments, but then you said they can vary. Originally, I thought writing was 2 points, nothing more. But last time you're saying that could shift. It could be more, could be less, and then it's gone. I lost my framework. So that's kind of where I'm seeing it currently.
Yeah.
I
So
would just like
most
to
of
get in a thing really quick of saying I apologize. I used some wording there that I would not have otherwise used. I did not mean to say destructive. It's in the heat of the moment,
Yeah, you got aggravated. It's
and
okay.
yeah, I was already at an 8, and then I sent myself over, so that was my bad. But I do appreciate your views on film because they're not how I generally view film, and you catch stuff that I miss, and so I appreciate that view. It is more just on
It's confusing.
I it's confusing, and I understand, you know, I I think I have a pretty easier time with my scale, especially given that it's just one. And I'm not coming from a place where I have to justify two separate scales. I only have to really rely on one at the end of the day. So I totally understand and respect that you have to juggle kind of two things. I would just appreciate, and I think it would be probably, I think, beneficial to, if there was kind of more of a baseline to work off of that didn't feel kind of
All
as
yeah, I've been
really
pondering
wobbly.
it over all three of you talking. I feel like I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I don't know if this will help in any regard. See my objective as a subjective to the craft of film of what is being done. So the lighting, the cinematography, all that. See that as that scaling. See my subjective as my personal enjoyment and entertainment out of the product made. If that helps at all.
It might, because like I said, the reason that these questions you got, the reason that they've been coming up more frequently last couple weeks is just that we're trying to get a grasp on the framework again because we feel like we lost the framework
Yes, I
that
know
we had
the
already had.
visual. Sorry for interrupting. The visual
Yeah.
depiction, how I see it, is like I have 10 Jenga pieces, okay, in front of me. One for everything of a film, writing, cinematography, lighting, what have you. And I go, this was good. I stack it. I stack it up. And you thought, like, oh, a point for each. So it's like a 7 out of all of like all the good. So it gets up to a 7. That's not how I do it. I do it as like, I can't, the writing was bad, but there's no reason or whatsoever I would credit a film for -5 points because of writing.
Yeah, well, like I said, that goes back to how I originally saw your scale, which was 2 points to writing, 2 points to this, 2 points to what have you. The 2 points is
Is
good
that
CGI, that sort of thing. So the visual that you said with the Jenga pieces is good because that is how we originally saw your scale, or at least that's how I originally saw it. So
Well,
like,
that's kind of how Sprinks explicitly stated it in American Movie. I've been going off of what you said. You rate the you pointed it out as the Jenga example, the pieces. So I don't know if you want to listen back to that again and reframe it so I can understand that because that's what I'm going off of. That's the only episode that you've given a solid thing I can base off of. The one you just said now, I'll sit on it where it's the subjective of film. I'll need to ponder that. But it'd be nice if you recontextualized the American movie review you did so I can
All right, I'll do
go off that.
American Movie, listen to my objective on that, and then the Fine Shadowing and Don Hertzfeld.
and maybe we should do an art and all that glitters part 2.
oh
And
yeah,
see
no,
if we
I've
see
been
if we
sitting on
falling
that
down
as
the
an
line.
idea. Like I said, there's definitely going to be a sequel to that at some point. Maybe for episode 100, we'll see.
Yeah, maybe. For sure.
But yeah, no. So right now, Springs, the main thing is because the framework that we were going by has been taken away. So that's why you're getting questions because we want a somewhat consistent framework that we can understand, even if it oscillates. If you have you know somewhat of a consistency as far as your baseline framework goes, we can then build our understanding off of it. Because the idea this is a first and foremost a kind of a movie slash artistic conversation podcast. So that sort of thing is that like once we have the basis of understanding, that frees up discussion immensely about perspective and art and the scaling of how you would rate things or how you view things. So that's why we've driven we've kind of pushed you a little hard on this, because it's in the same way that, definitions are important to words. I know you're using the word objective differently from the rest of us because you're operating by a different definition. But obviously the reason that definitions exist for words is so that we have a basic understanding in conversation. So I don't view this as different, far off from that kind of framework in my head as to why we keep asking these questions, because we need that understanding of baseline in order for us to have a more open and free conversation about your perspective in film. Because we can ask you more for example, we can ask you a more difficult question on lighting if we understood how the exactness of your frame scale worked for a particular film. It, like I said, it just allows a freedom of discussion that would greatly help, I guess, formulate, the podcast to its fullest potential, I suppose. Um, and like I said, your previous framework allowed us to do that, at least to a degree. So, like I said, it's one of the. It's just how I guess how communication works. I guess, like I said, the definition example is pretty much the only one I could think of right now, as to why I view it as important for us to get a framework. Once we all agree on, like, what the word film means or what the word movie means, we can have the discussion around it of that word from there, if you get what I'm saying.
Sure.
Like we had a discussion on what a short is.
Yeah.
That was a topic of debate. And then we had the music video wrench to talk more on what a short
My
is.
fault. Sorry.
Did everybody get a turn on this question?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that
surprise rating?
concludes
I
the
will.
Springs' objective scaling
Well,
segment.
Unless you got more. I didn't bring it
I'll-
up. I wasn't going to. So it's
I'll conclude it
anything else?
on my end. I will say that I definitely was a little bit hostile there. Was not my intention to be. Didn't come off that way, but I have to admit it. It did happen. So I'm apologizing for that. Not necessary. It would have been a fine, calm-headed discussion, but I got heated, and it's not okay. And so I apologize for that. And that really I was just trying to, because I'm just going off of this is, we're all kind of new to this podcast discussion sort of thing in our own ways, and it's hard for me to kind of, I guess, because we talk about movies somewhat outside of this podcast, and I just felt like when at least like Springs, when you and I talk about stuff, I feel like it's kind of a very different vibe than this.
Oh yeah, I always give
And
you
so
my subjective.
no. I mean, we don't we don't all talk in in the same lingo, obviously, but so I was just trying. I was like, from my perspective of it, I was like, I understood when you talked about, like, when we, like, in person talking about a movie, I understood exactly where you were coming from, and then transmitting it to the podcast has been the harder thing.
Yeah,
And
I
so it's
don't
just
believe
been,
I have ever used my objective scaling outside the podcast.
no.
In
We definitely brought
discussion,
it up.
that is.
Yeah, we
Writer,
definitely
do you
brought
do
it up
that?
in passing.
I don't think
but,
I do that either. That would be weird.
yeah.
Like
I
when
mean,
people ask me after I seen a movie and they're like, "How was it?" I say like 7 out of 10. It's always subjective.
I think
I'd give them my sinister rating. It's a little bit of both.
Sinister rating.
Yeah, I do the same thing generally. I give them my sinister rating, unless unless we're explicitly having a longer talk about it. Because Crimson and I have had a lot of talk about TV shows and stuff outside the podcast that we've watched together, and those do start trending towards our two different scales. The longer those discussions go on, but we don't usually start from there. So
And that's the introduction to our campaign to change subjective objective rating into combined to be the sinister rating in dictionary.
I veto that action.
No.
yeah.
Why-
Well, I guess Springs, do you have any final words you'd like to say? Because it was a segment directed at you, and I don't want to feel like you didn't get your chance to say anything, so I think you should have the
Uh,
last word on it, and if not, you feel free to go into the next question
yeah,
of how
best
you
last
feel.
word I got is I'll see you for this segment next recap. A fan favorite, Springs' objective scaling, which now actually has a visual aid to it on YouTube and Rumble, because I knew this would happen again.
Well, that's cool. I didn't know that. Can you? I want to see. I want to see the image
Yes.
in the Discord later. um,
Well, with that, do we go on to another normal
Or do we go into the game?
question?
I mean,
Do we go
the
into the
segment?
segment? We go into critics on critics?
I
Let's do the
guess.
segment
Uh, okay.
because I know Sinister has work coming up. I'd like to get
This
it
is
in
work.
there.
Yeah,
This
Paid
is
work.
all I do.
yeah.
Paid work.
All right.
You got it.
This
Let's
is
go into the
paid.
game.
I get paid in laughs on this one. And good times with my buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a little different. This segment is actually not taken by me.
It is
Oh.
by a different member. It is Ryder. So what's the game today?
Such a fibber.
All right. Well then, please think of
You
something
only
on
could
the
have been a
fly
worse
for you
liar
here.
than
Please
said
list.
me.
We're playing lineup again. Top 10 most attractive versions of death.
Ooh.
So get a 1 through
Top
10. joking.
I mean,
That's not it.
yeah.
It's actually
That is
Crimson
not the game
is
today.
in charge.
Yes,
Top
we
10
are playing a
hottest
game
Hanukkah
called Critics in the Middle. There's the sound effect.
Da-da-da.
We don't do
Sound
sound
Da-da-da.
effects,
because
but that one's got a
wow.
I don't know why. It makes no sense to the context of the game.
It just goes wow.
Alright, so Critics in the Middle. It's a pretty broad game, so it's pretty much based off a spectrum of
Also
any
rating
numbers.
females.
Well,
So it's a
you
pretty
could
broad
apply
game.
that to this game if you want. If
It's pretty.
one recap,
It's
someone
a
wants to
pretty
do that,
broad game. Yeah.
they can do it.
Yeah.
So anything in relation to numbers, pretty much, this will be on ages in particular, this one. So I'm going to be giving you two characters, and you guys are going to be guessing the age in the middle based off of the actor's age when the film came out. So I'll give an example of I give a character who was 10 when the movie came out, and then the actor of the character, and a character where the actor was 30 when it came out. So you're trying to tell me an actor from something we've covered in the podcast who's closest to 20, which would
Our
be the middle
answer has
range.
to be an actor or actress from the podcast.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Closest to the
I'm
middle.
shit at names. This is
Well,
gonna be fun for
I
me.
feel personally attacked. So thank you.
Question
We've
being
got
that
we've got hundreds of characters.
Crimson,
to
you're
choose from.
host. You're leading this. Sinister and Ryder, are you guys going to play nicely as a team?
Huh?
I
This
mean,
is an individuals game.
Oh, never
I
mind.
think I'll.
First to 3 points
Never mind.
wins 1 point.
Oh,
That's how it's going to be.
this could
This
be
is
a
not a
lengthy
2P.
one. Okay.
This is not turn based though, so
So we can just say it out at once.
well, I mean, I
Oh.
guess it is turn based.
I'm like, do we
That's
have to
fine,
buzz
whatever.
in? I mean,
No, that's right.
Eh.
I've thought of a third game, and I just combined them real quick. This is not that. So,
no, there's critics in the middle.
any questions before I throw out the actual first?
Am I allowed to look up the names of actors so I don't?
I mean, you can
fuck
just
up?
describe the character. You don't have to. I'm going to have to look them up. So, the caveat for this, it's got to be someone I can actually
Do we-
verify. So, don't say the background character with the umbrella in this scene in that movie.
The Observer.
Obviously,
It's gotta be a
obviously, I'm
character.
gonna pick an animated character.
Do
right?
we-
So that-
So, like the two actors, okay, and then the one in the middle. Does it go like Ryder chooses one, Sinister chooses one, I choose one, all for those two, or is it like these two are specifically for Ryder, and then Sinister gets?
You're all voting
these...
on the same one.
Okay, we're all voting on the same. Okay, it just goes down. Got it.
And whoever's closest gets that one. First to 3 gets a point.
Okay,
for
and
the
no
Does
repeats.
recap
whoever
points. No repeats.
does whoever like gets it in, like let's say Ryder gets it his answer in first. Is his locked in? So I couldn't say the same answer as Ryder.
Well, it's not
Yeah, you
buzzing,
gotta pick somebody
so
else.
does it go
Well, no, I know.
Ryder,
But
Sinister, me, second round, Sinister, me, Ryder, so it's like fair of who goes first.
So if Ryder says Milo from Atlantis for the middle age, which would be what's his name? I forgot his name. The actor.
Michael J.
Oh,
Fox.
Michael J. Fox, when that came out, his age. Then whoever's next, which I guess Sinister, wouldn't be able to guess Milo for it. You'd have to pick somebody else.
But is each round starting with Ryder?
No,
Oh,
it's
we'll do start with Ryder, and then the next picture or the next one will
Then
be
Sinister, myself,
and then
Ryder, and
yeah.
then myself.
So you each get to
Okay,
start.
got it.
Yeah,
That's what I was
okay.
questioning. That makes it fair.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I
That
think
was
I'm
a good
good.
sound bite. You guys synced it up there.
Could have.
Really good.
Also, giving away Michael J. Fox. Oh boy.
All right. So the first one will be Patrick Gates from National Treasure 2. So the dad, Ben's dad.
okay.
And the other one is from Serenity, Jane Cobb. So think of how old they are or were when it came out, and then a character from something we've covered where that actor would be in the middle. It's a large catalog.
All right, I
Alright,
guess
I'm
go
gonna
first.
go with I got mine. I'm gonna go with Robert Pattinson's Batman.
All right. And you're saying Robert Pattinson in Batman, so Batman.
Yeah, sorry.
All right.
Yeah, Batman.
That's good. I just need to look up their ages while you guys are going. So, all right, good. We got Robert Pattinson as the Batman. Sinister. What about you?
Are we saying the actor and not the character, right?
Yes, the actor's age
Okay.
when the film was released that they were in.
Okay, in between old John Voight and Jane Cobb, not the young John.
Was it Adam
John
Baldwin?
Voight when he was in the yeah. Okay,
Yeah, Adam Baldwin.
Adam Baldwin.
Oh shoot.
You
Did you say
thought it was the opposite.
Serenity?
I
Yeah,
said
you did.
Serenity. Yep.
Fuck.
Yeah, I had a feeling. I had a feeling.
I'm also not doing months, so there can be
Okay.
ties. So,
Okay.
So that can happen.
Everything. You skip me.
No, that's not fair to Springs.
Okay, sorry. Well, I was trying to get more time.
I mean, you're giving me more time.
I
That's
guess
true.
it's true.
And you can scroll through our
Okay.
our channel history. You don't have to just think of everything we've ever covered. You just can't look up the people.
Brett. No. Vince Vaughn in Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
And Mrs. Smith.
Yeah.
All right. And Springs.
Colin Farrell is the Penguin from the Batman.
Fuck, that's a good one.
Wow. 2 of the Batmans. That's nice. All right. Talk amongst each other while I verify these ages.
All right. This
You
is an
gonna
interesting
cover your
game.
music?
So I didn't hear Serenity. That
No,
was on me.
you went with
Yeah.
Firefly, so a little younger,
Yeah. Fucked up.
just a
That's
little.
what I did.
Now, is Robert Pattinson younger than Jane Cobb in Serenity?
I don't
that's a
know.
question.
Like I said, I would have absolutely made the bet for Firefly, but Serenity is
I just had a better
an
answer.
extra
Fuck,
half
damn it.
decade.
I think I fucked
Yeah.
myself.
The thing with me
I
is
shouldn't
like,
have hedged my bets on
how
Vince Vaughn.
old was John Voight in National Treasure? Because I mean,
Uh,
he plays his dad. It could be older, but it also could be like a Sean Connery, Harrison
he was
Ford,
in-
Last Crusade situation where
He was
doesn't
like
age.
he was like 20 in Midnight Cowboy, and that was like 1970 or
he was 20.
1960. He was
Oh
like
my
20. He was
God.
in his 20s.
Okay.
So
All right,
National
the
Treasure
results
is he
are
in
in.
his
The
60s?
results are in.
And I said National Treasure 2.
Yeah. So
All right.
what? 3
The
more years?
results are in. None of you
We're close.
made it perfectly in the middle.
Yeah.
You are all outside the brackets of them. So John Voight was 68 in National Treasure 2,
Okay, 60.
and Adam Baldwin was 43. So 55 to 56 would have been the
He
middle.
was 43. Oh
Yeah.
my God, that was way off.
So with Ryder's guess, Robert Pattinson, 36 would have been his age. And
So
then
outside.
with, yeah, but it's still going to be whoever's closest to the middle age. Sinister, 30. He was 30 in that.
I just thought he was older. He
Vince
said
Vaughn was
old
30 in
Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Maybe we're old guys. Have we considered that?
Maybe.
And then for the last one, 46. So Sprint's
All right.
got the point for that one.
I made it in the margin. Okay.
Yeah, by
So
3
far,
years,
that
you,
is the
you made
best
it
one.
within the margin. All right. That's 1 point. First to 3 was the plan. We'll see how that goes. Might end up being 2 at this pace. The next one, kind of relevant to this season, DC's death.
Oh, okay.
And
Holy shit!
Guillermo del
Okay.
Toro's death.
Okay. Oh shoot! I don't
We
know
got
who
2
voiced
death
Death in
characters we've
Guillermo del
covered.
Toro.
I do have the answer. Is that something? No, I'm not giving that answer.
No, don't give the margin answers.
So it starts with Sinister on this one.
I'm gonna say, let's see, between those two, I feel like I'm safe. I'm gonna say Ewan McGregor and Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Ooh, that might be a good answer.
That's probably a very solid answer.
Watch it be terrible though. Watch it.
You were
The
10 years off
worst answer I
base.
could have given.
I don't know who Oh, wait. I might know. I might know who voiced Death in Pinocchio now. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm next. Okay.
Yes, you are.
Sorry. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with David Harbour from Stranger Things.
Season 1, I'd imagine.
Yes. Since
That is what we've
we
covered.
Shit.
So many choices.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Warwick Davis from Willow.
The
show
movie or the show?
movie.
The show.
Okay.
There we go.
Because that's a difference. All right. Was
Yeah.
Tilda Swinton the death of Pinocchio?
I think so.
Yes.
Yes. Sweet. Okay. I got slightly confused with Kate Blanchett, but she was the monkey.
Yeah.
Whew. Okay.
Forgot what his name. Started with an S. The monkey's name was.
Mr. Bobo.
It was some French name or something.
Yeah. So
Something.
Squibble.
Oh man.
All right.
That was tough.
Results are in. 2 of you were 1 year off from each other on that one.
Oh. So a tie?
No.
Oh, never mind.
One of us got closer. Maybe.
Yeah, one of you did get closer
Oh,
to the actual
gotcha.
middle. One of you were 1 off from each other, not from the actual total. All right. So the answer, DC Showcase Death, was voiced by Jamie Chung, who was 36 in that.
Okay.
And Tilda Swinton was Death in Pinocchio at 61.
Okay.
So the middle would be 48, 49, because it would be
Oh.
48.5. So it'd be one of those.
Oh, that's gonna be close.
Yeah.
Sinister's pick is 51. So
Yes!
that's pretty darn close.
But I'm not.
We got Drinks's was 41.
Oh.
10 off. And Ryder's was 52.
Yes!
So Sinister got that one.
Fuck.
That was really close. I went off by 2 years on there.
You know what's the worst thing though? I was banking on Jamie Chung being the older one and not Tilda Swinton.
Wow.
Because you said he played her
Wow.
mom in something. It's like assuming it would be like 50 or 40.
To be fair, Sinister, also, if you didn't take Ewan McGregor, I absolutely would have. That was my choice.
Yeah.
That was my first choice, so I had to run back to my fucking list. Movie list for us.
All right, got another one ready. So we have. Where is it on my list? I have 10 of these on here just in case. So there we go. All right. So Elora Danan from the Willow movie. There were 4 babies. I'm going with Ruth Greenfields. They're all very close in age, so that's fine. And Christmas with the Cranks, Blair Crank. So the daughter.
Okay. That's helpful. Shoot. I'm gonna go with the kid from The Changeling, the wheelchair boy.
Okay.
I had a good one, and I don't think I have it anymore. Oh,
All right. So
is it my
Ryder
turn?
would be next.
Yeah, Ryder. Okay.
Oh, there's so many options. Now that I'm thinking about it,
Who?
there's so many.
I don't know their fucking names. God damn it.
I think my guess was too low. Damn it.
There's a lot of options for
There are, and
ages.
my option was too.
Everything we've covered.
My guess
There's
was
a lot.
too low.
Hey, what did you guys guess so I don't double up?
I mean,
I
haven't
chose the
guessed it.
kid. I chose the dead kid from The Changeling.
Okay.
Joseph, thank
Joseph.
you.
Joseph Mengele.
The wheelchair boy.
And you, Sinister?
He hasn't
I
gone
haven't,
yet.
I
He
haven't
was
gone
third.
yet. Yeah, you.
Oh, I see. Okay. Fuck. I'm gonna look up the name of the character really quickly. Because I don't remember their name.
Describe them. What are they in?
He's looking it up.
Yeah. The
She-
the character 5 feet apart.
Which one?
Dylan
The
Sprouse one or
boy?
the girl? Or...
The girl.
The girl. Okay.
Yeah, what's her face?
That's his
Yeah,
answer.
what's her face? Yeah, there we go. That's my answer.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know who you're talking about. All right,
All right, my turn.
Stella.
Stella. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the oldest of the 3 kids in Apple Dumping Gang.
You guys got better answers than me.
Keep the discourse.
Oh, drat! I didn't get that point.
You don't know yet. You might.
Oh,
actually,
absolutely not.
I didn't. No, wait.
With how
who
old
got- who
she
got the point
is
last
in
time?
Christmas with the Cranks, she's a college kid.
Well, yeah. So she could be actually older.
Who got the point from the last one? Because I don't think I was here for
That was
Sister
me.
did.
Yeah, I did.
was
Okay,
off
no,
by-
yeah. You're right.
By one.
Okay.
Yeah, you were off by 1. Yeah.
It was 51 and 52.
Yeah, you were off. You were off by 3, and I was only off by 2.
I was off by 10. David Harbour was 41.
Man looks good.
Gosh, with this,
And Stranger Things season 1.
Shoot. Ryder, what was your guess? Said
Stella from 5 Feet
Stella.
Apart.
Ryder might have this one. No, she might be.
Find the kid.
If she's above the age of 16, I think. I'm trying to think how old Blair is.
Are you telling
Or
me
Claire.
Laura Dannon? You're pretty
Laura
confident
Dannon's-
on her age.
She's less than 1, probably, or 1 to 2. Blair might be. The thing is, she's playing a college kid, but is she like in her 30s?
I
She's
don't
not
know.
in her 30s. She's like 25.
Because if she's in the 30s, that definitely takes out mind. I think the kid I chose is under 10. I should have gone with like a Secret Garden kid.
I think that would have been worse actually for you.
Well, I
The
think
maid probably would have worked.
what
but-
worst for me was if I chose the daughters from Practical Magic. I think they're too young.
All right, results in. It was really hard to find the Apple Dumpling Gang kid.
Yes.
So for Willow, Laura Dannon, Ruth Greenfield is one of the 4 babies I picked out of there. 1 years old, shocker. Well, a couple months, but I rounded up. And Christmas with the Cranks, Blair Crank, acted by Julie Gonzalo, was 23 at the time.
Okay.
So the medium to look for is 12.
Oh no!
Fuck.
This is the tightest round.
Sprinks's was a 10.
Oh no!
Oh,
That means I think I'm out.
Ryder's was 24.
Yeah.
What?
I'm out, yeah.
You overshot that one.
Wow, she's out of the margin.
And Sinister got 18.
damn it!
He was 8. Wow.
Yeah.
Woo!
He was 18 in that. Crazy. He did not look 18 in there. So Sinister didn't get
Sprinks,
that.
I got the
There
point.
we go. Sprinks got 2. So based off time, I guess first to 2. Is that fair for that?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Works for me.
All right.
If that works.
I can
Sprinks, so you get
Okay.
1 point.
I get 1
added
point.
to the
Okay.
recap points.
Wonderful, because I did terrible last time. So rounding up the segment points of the games right now, Ryder's at 2, Crimson's at 3, Sinister's at 2, and this one brings me up to a 2 as well. Crimson's ahead by 1.
Woo!
Close
Yeah.
game.
And on that note, I have to go.
All right.
All right, Sinister,
Well,
well, thanks for
thanks
joining
for
us for the
being here.
recap.
Yeah.
We'll see you
Yeah.
next season.
Yeah.
See you next season. Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.
It's a bummer, too, because I
Man,
had questions for
I
them,
overprepped. I had
Yeah.
10 of these ready. Okay.
just in case. I mean, you didn't know. Hey, the trivia tag segment, you guys did poorly on. So I had to have
Well,
plenty of those.
I have graphics to go with these too, though. Bunch of math I did. But yeah, lots of prep. I think it went decent.
Yeah, that went fine. I'm glad we understood what we were doing.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
was
my
worried it would be too
boonies.
complicated. So
Yeah, I'm sorry, my boonies internet gave out there, but
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the snare drum, or just more music theory and stuff that was covered in the Slyest Move by Ryder for the music video that was covered this season. Because I feel like Sinister
that's not
was a
going away
little.
anytime soon.
Yeah, no. This will be your light year. Sinister was a little underprepared, I guess, for that question to come up. So I didn't know if he had enough time between then to now. But guess we'll
always
bring it up
next
later.
recap. Yeah.
Also, another thing for Sinister, he talked about how he wanted in the red balloon there to be like a more of a romance between the red and blue balloons, or was kind of looking for that. That reminded me of a Pixar short, I believe it's Pixar, called The Blue Umbrella, which kind of goes with that.
Do you have a recommendation for him?
I do, if he's looking for something more in that vein of what he was hoping for Red Balloon.
I guess one thing to throw out there, gotta do it at some point. We got a comment this season
We did.
while
Where
we were
from?
recording the season on YouTube
Hey.
on Shaun of the Dead by Morpheus 852456.
Well, from
Dude,
YouTube, it's at
please-
Morpheus.
Isn't all comments
Well,
at on YouTube?
well, there was a time where it wasn't.
The time is no longer now. They wrote, "Dude, please sort your mic issues."
And through several translations, we understood what he meant.
Well,
Sort out.
kind of.
Got it.
Thanks for
yeah,
the comment. Thanks for the constructive criticism.
Yeah, we appreciate
Right.
it. I guess it just kind of goes down to, is the audio a whole? Is the audio an individual? Is someone else
Yeah.
listening to this currently have the same thought about our audio that we do? Because if we can narrow it down, we can improve on it.
Yeah, that would be helpful because we all have different setups. So we need to either know whose needs to be fixed, or we need to know if it's everyone, or
Yeah, if everyone needs to be fixed, if there's different situations between different people, I mean,
yeah, we all have different setups. So yeah, that's helpful, but we would like it narrowed down a little bit more.
we appreciate the comment. Was there anything else, Crimson, or just the one?
That's the only comment I'm aware of
All right.
from what we haven't covered in the past, anyways.
Do we have a critics on critics segment? Because they're shorts.
I always have those. I do have some.
Well, then he has.
All right.
On a
We'll
critics
jump
segment.
into critics on critics then. I am not crazy. I did not pick one from each because we don't need to cover 12 reviews.
I imagine no.
Did you
Not-
get
That seems like
one?
overkill.
Did you get like 4? So one from each of someone's stuff?
Yeah, I've got one from each. I think I have 7 because there's a couple funny short ones, but there is one from each
All right, cool.
persons.
Okay.
So I'll start with Assassin's Creed Embers on LetterBox by Anakin Chosen One. 5
All right,
out of
you-
5
you-
stars.
Got a high bar for me, chosen one. All right.
Yes. 5 out of 5, perfect score. I couldn't help but feel a strong bond between me and the broom guy at the beginning. His sweeping of the streets really touched me, and I will go down. And this will go down as the best cinematic ever.
All right, Anakin, I see the sarcasm coming across.
That's pretty funny. You know what? I don't even have anything to say against it. That was just
I
quality comedy right there.
does that in actuality with that comment, would you suspect his scoring of seriousness to be like a 1, or do you think it would be
I,
more of middle ground, or
I think
all
it'd
I
be more
know
middle
is
ground.
I doubt it's a 5 out of 5.
yeah, in actuality. But
Yeah.
But I don't know if they hated it, thought it was middle of the road, and thought they should make a joke. But
Listen, the
it
broom
was fun.
guy. Look, I get it. It's-
We never
hey,
even covered the
maybe
legendary broom
no,
guy.
maybe they saw in the broom guy how I saw the apples in Spirit.
Maybe
Could
life
be.
changing.
That's true. It's possible. We have set a precedence for that on the podcast. Can't be too harsh.
No, not too hard. We shall go to the kid in the camera, also on Letterbox. Pangy Pants is the author of this.
Okay.
1.5 stars, so 3 out of 10. God, this is so effing lame and cringe. Screw you, TikTok horror accounts, for recommending me this shit 20 times a day. I hated the stupid Blender stop motion style. It was trying so hard to be quirky and weird, but it just ended up looking lazy and derivative of other analog horror short films because I love analog horror films before this. What the heck am I doing? Am I stupid? I am
I don't
stupid.
know. You're reading it off.
Lazy and derivative of other analog horror shorts before it. Oh, it's because there's no comma. That has done the same shit 100 times. The child abuse allegory just felt it was there to seem provocative without. Okay, I thought this guy was writing right. Provocative without being anything new to the table or commenting on it. I watched this with a bunch of my friends, and we just laughing our asses the whole time due to how this shit was. I will give it a +1/2 star because I thought the photo of the killer looked kind of good. Don't waste your time with TikTok horror garbage. It's always usually bad. 1.5 out of 5.
Okay,
That was a
interesting.
struggle.
Did
Okay,
did you
so
say child abuse algorithm?
I,
I think
I, I
I
said
think you meant to say
allegory.
allegory.
Did I say
Alleg-
algorithm? I guess I'll find out when I listen to this.
Maybe you said allegory.
Allegory is
Okay,
what I meant.
allegory. Okay. Because I'm like that, dude. Your TikTok feed, yikes. I suspect that they believe this was made for TikTok, because I know TikTok does have that with people making horror films for it. Um, so it could be in that vein.
Just because
I'm
it's
not gonna
not
lie.
unique. Yeah, just
I
because it's not
saw
unique.
this.
Okay, go Crimson, go.
Because I saw this and I'm like, so this is where Sprinks found it. He's a TikToker.
Oh, are you
My
asking?
mind immediately went there.
You asking me if I found this on TikTok?
Oh, I know you have now, based off this guy. I mean, it's
Uh,
certain.
Crimson, no, I did not find this on TikTok. This was YouTube searching for shorts.
Right, Ryder, I cut you off
Yeah.
so rudely.
Yeah. So I was gonna say it's like just because it's been done for doesn't make it inherently bad. It's pretty much all I have to say in response to his comment. I could see some valid criticisms laid within there, but citations are needed, and most of it jumps back to the fact that he's saying it's just a cheap knockoff, and knockoffs can be good. It can happen. So I don't know if that's inherently enough in itself to be good criticism of this short.
All right. And we'll go to A Boy and His Atom, the world's smallest movie, by Cringe Poop. 1 star, 2 out of 10. Just because it's a small movie doesn't mean it's a good one. A Boy and His Atom is really boring and isn't much fun to watch in general. I get it was made to raise brand awareness to IBM, but come on, make the boy have a gun or something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Someone was bored. That's not it.
I don't think someone understands the attention to detail of the boy in the atom or the craft
Now, this
behind it.
person also doesn't understand what capitals are. Not a single one used.
Well,
Fill the
cringy.
red
What was
pen.
it? Cringy poops.
Yeah, cringe poop.
Cringe poop.
And just like in Boy Meets Adam, the I is lowercase while everything else is capital.
Why?
It's
Why
a
would you do that?
it's an internet writing technique. Or they were going off of a think.
I
That's
think
true.
that's what they were doing. They were actually a huge fan. They're just lying to themselves.
It's
Their
the
closet.
opposite of the Assassin's Creed one.
They're in the closet.
A 5-star for something like The Broom versus this 1-star for, a little.
Yeah. I got one for Edge Runners on YouTube because there is no letterbox or anything else outside of that because it's a music video. Ladies, gentlemen, if there was ever a good storyboard with a compelling story told in under 5 minutes, this is it. This is a masterpiece in storytelling in only short 4 minutes and 43 seconds. The story introduces a new character, makes you care about it, and makes you suffer with their fate. A mastercraft right here. Written by at Angelus Dark Shadows. There you go.
Angelus
Yeah, I
Dark
read that
Shadows.
comment before. So I've read the comment section of that video before. I think I've read that.
I scrolled fairly far down and found it. Perhaps he did.
Well, they liked it.
Maybe.
I couldn't find any negative comments on that video, so plucked a
But
positive.
I'm mostly in agreement. Like I said, it's very, very tightly done. It's one of the reasons I picked it. Sorry, everybody. It's one of the reasons I picked it because I agree. I think it's a very tightly done story. The dialogue is mostly visual through like text screens, um, and that's pretty much all you need. Like, there's no actual voiceover for characters and stuff. I found it to be pretty impressive on my first watch through, with how tight it all is. And yeah, as we discussed in the podcast, it's got some holes. So, but still, if you're calling it a masterclass, I'd say it's pretty darn close. So you're not too far off, I think.
And the last one I'll be covering, even though I have a couple left. The Meaning of Life was the one I chose out of the three Sinister ones. By Jagodiyinsky, what I'm going to assume that is pronounced. Sorry if it's wrong. On LetterBox, 1.5 stars, so 3 out of 10. Repetitive, boring, and lacking in any true direction or concept. This one was another miss. I get you could. God, am I just illiterate today? I am tired.
Maybe.
I get you could twist that as being the meaning of life, but that doesn't make for an enjoyable film or even an interesting one. It's these technically impressive crowd shots and other analog planets moving animations that, while being impressive and somewhat fun to look at, drag on far too long and have some sort of lame, non sequitur type thing stuffed into it. I can see how people could like this. I love that it's made completely analog, but it just didn't do it for me. Maybe skip through it and see if it's for you, but Beautiful Day is leagues better, and I really just can't recommend this one. I was hoping Sinister would be around for this one.
I assumed.
well.
Did he say it was a 1-star?
1.5. 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10. Yeah, with how much he's praised the animation, I'm surprised that it's so low. Um, uh, and I guess he didn't get the point of the film.
What got me to even pick this was the fact that they said lacking in any true direction or concept. This is
Yeah,
a concept film.
Yeah,
This is all this is.
This is all it is concept. Yes.
This is the definition of a concept film.
We just don't understand their understanding of the word concept.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna have to go with because that's all this was. Yeah. And we'll end it for that segment of Critics on Critics.
All right. Woo. I
Yeah.
thank the people for submitting them, but they didn't. That's not exactly
Thank you
how
for
this
putting
works.
it out in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting your thoughts out there.
All right. Easy question. Favorite character this season in all the shorts? Sprig, you're going first.
Oh,
Okay, I was like, is that easy?
Oh man, favorite character?
It's the boy. Well, actually, there's been a lot of just boys.
Well,
a couple boys.
I like Ezio. Ezio Auditore dei Frenzy.
But is that from the short or from your love of the video games?
I mean, that's coming from the love of the games.
Yeah, I agree. Overall, he's probably would be the best one because of all his
Yeah.
history. But in isolation to the short, I don't think he fares as well.
I'm looking at the list here. I think I might just go with Ezio, actually.
All right, fair enough. Crimson.
Hmm. There's a couple interesting options here. I do like Nathan Fillion. He does well as Nathan Drake.
But do you like Nathan
But I'm
Drake?
not the biggest fan of Nathan Drake. Yeah, yeah. He's fine, but he's not like, something I love. And everything else didn't really stand out to me other than Death. So I'll say Death.
I'll give my honorable mention. My honorable mentions were Nathan Fillion's Nathan Drake. I do think he's a fantastic personal choice. I really like the character. I find him to be enjoyable. Uh, I would pick Akatsuo if I was including my history with the games, but I'm not. But I'm also going with Death. I think Death kind of surprised me this season. My favorite character easily, and I love Sasha from Let You Down, but you know,
I was just about to ask that more than
yeah.
her.
Yeah, Sasha would be, I think, second choice. But Death, I think, beats her out. And it might just be because I'm overly familiar with Sasha. Like I said, I've listened to that song on repeat before. It's part of my I Need a Dissociation Living playlist. So I've heard it. I've heard it multiple times and I've seen that multiple times. So Death wins, I think, by just being my new favorite toy, so to speak.
Okay.
Least favorite character?
Ooh.
Oh, now that's going to be
Crimson.
difficult.
You're up.
You couldn't do it yourself?
No,
Uh,
no, I can't. You're going first.
no. Okay.
I mean, yeah, fuck it, sure, I'll
See,
go first.
I
I'm gonna pick Pascal.
Oh, from Red
All right,
Balloon.
done. All right, Cruisin', go, done.
not a bad choice. So there's a lot of characters in here that I just don't care about. I don't care about Billy. I don't care either of the boys, either from Adam or
Yeah,
Cameron.
like I don't
Uh,
care, so I chose one I
yeah,
actively
I don't.
disliked.
So with the same thought process, I'm going to have to agree. Pascal.
Pascal. All right, Sprinks.
Oh, I don't want to cop out and choose the same.
You can.
I mean,
It's
if it's what you
fully.
want,
No,
pick it, and you can throw out
no,
your backup.
no.
Don't lie to yourself. Be true to yourself.
Least favorite. Hmm. Gosh, that's a toughie. I kind of. Maybe the boss from Paperman,
Out of left
but
field, the random guy with no lines.
yeah,
There's been a
but
lot of silence in here.
I'm also thinking maybe the guy with the glasses and best friend who just shoves the guy into the crowd.
What's the guy in
Uh,
the crowd?
Yeah, when he's trying to chase after the mugger and he runs into the guy who has glasses and he sees himself
oh,
in the reflection and he just shoves him.
oh yeah.
Um, but the thing is, a lot of people are going to be like, Sprinks, writer said character. You have to,
That's where my head is.
yeah, you have to be on a character. Um, I'll go with the guy who stands in the corner and doesn't use his weapon in Ember, Assassin's Creed Ember, who literally just watches
Oh,
Ezio.
the cannon guy.
Yeah, he just stands there
It took him
because
too
I
long
saw
to
that as a
move
problem.
it. That's fair.
It was a problem, yeah.
Yeah.
Freaking guy's a failure.
Yeah, I think he had more character than the other two I just said. So,
Last question. This is a joke. Sprinks, do you know what AMV stands for?
animated music video.
All right.
I learned.
Heyo. You learn from A Boy and His Atom and from Edgerunners.
Oh, a Boy in the Head is an AMV.
I guess it would count. Yeah, that would count as an AMV.
Huh.
Well, I
Okay.
wasn't going with that.
Well, is it also to the
It's not
point?
a
Is
music
that
video.
animated?
I mean, it is animated. I mean, stop motion is animation.
Yeah.
It's just on branch of it.
I'm trying to think.
It's
I
more
don't
like
think.
it's slideshow. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I can. Maybe I'm gonna live with it as a maybe. Just give it a solid
Like if
maybe.
you
I'll
took
think on that.
photos of someone walking, like 30 photos of someone walking, and you just showed the photos, would you count that as animation?
Depends on the frame rate.
Okay.
Because like a boy and his camera, that's technically animated, and those are
Oh,
some
yeah.
far images.
Yes, I would not count that as stop motion. Or well, not stop motion. I wouldn't call that like flipbook style.
Funny enough, I didn't know what to call it. I called it just stop animation.
Yeah, it's just imagery.
Yeah, like I said, I just called it
And
stop
that's
animation
all
because
video is just a series of
It's a
photos.
it's a it's a picture
yeah,
book. One.
yeah. It's like I didn't call it stop animation motion. I just called it stop animation. And the idea that it's just a picture book. I don't know if I don't think that's the technical term for it, but it's just a picture book kind of animation style. So
Yeah. I guess since we touched on it a little, I'll shoot out a question. Favorite animation style?
in this season,
Yes.
Ooh, got a
that's
few.
good. I mean, easy for me. It's gonna be between Edge Runners and Death. I really like those two styles.
Crimson.
And is anyone going for Assassin's Creed?
I'm
I'd be
Um,
not.
impressed.
So if you want to take it, you
no,
can.
no one's going for that. Nah, get out of here. Um, it's tricky because there's a lot of good. I really like the showcase art style, but it's not like the most creative thing in the world. Cyberpunk's got some good creative visuals. Paperman's got a good visual. In the camera even does. It's
If I'm going for uniqueness, I actually think
tough
Don Hertzfeldt might win, but I'm not. I'm
for
just going for subjective preference.
meaning of life is pretty unique for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a tough question. Um, I think I'm gonna say Paperman.
Damn it! You took my answer. Because my answer is
You're
also
allowed to
Paperman.
double up,
Yeah,
Springs.
I know, but it feels like a cop out kind of thing. I
It's not.
I mean, yeah, I'm gonna go with
Say your
Paperman.
alternative if you want to stand
My
out.
alternative's
What's your
Death.
backup? Okay.
I like Warner Brother animations, but the thing with Paperman is that 2D, 3D, like the new technique of Meander.
It was
I
so
think that was the
smooth.
word. Yeah, I think it's great.
Uh, so something I did because Sprinks brought up something similar in the snake draft of best shorts. Threw it out to the audience as a question, but I did average
Oh, we did.
out
Yeah, that's right.
our numbers.
That's right. The question was, and we have no feedback right now, maybe in the future, but out of the three that was chosen for everyone, and I guess the coverage as well, who had the best three, or if that's how it goes.
Total or like
Yeah.
best? Okay.
So going off of our numbers, this was before Sinister's Sprinks numbers, so that those are excluded from it, but everything else is here. So
So just you two.
this will be and your own score. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said
Um,
mine and Sinister's were.
I
Okay.
said overall. No, in your coverage, Sinister didn't rate, so his average isn't in there. They're not zeros. They're just not in the calculation. Everything else, it's still there. So averaged everything, which is subjective, objective, and obviously Sinister's for everybody's pick or all of who was
I see what
first?
you mean.
Sinisters.
Okay.
For all of Sinisters, everybody's combined average is 7.54. For Ryder, same thing, combined average 7.38. And then Sprinks's 7.97. And mine, Crimson's, 7.57. So based off our total averages, Sprinks would win in that regard. I did a separate one of just our subjective ratings because they could be different from because we've had a lot of high objectives this season.
We have.
So it could tip it. So with our subjectives, with Sinisters, I didn't round this one up. This was the actual number. 7.25 flat. And then Riders same thing. I didn't round up or down. 7.25. They came out to
Wow.
be the exact same.
That's pretty cool. I like it.
That was pretty crazy to me. And then for Sprink's 7.77, and mine
Lucky.
was 7.20. So mine was the least favorite for subjective amongst everybody.
Mine was
And Sprink's won that one as well.
7.77.
To be fair, I
What are
tried
the
to pick a
odds?
range of I tried to pick a range. Like I didn't think. Never mind. I've already
Oh, but
explained it.
we talked about how we weren't all focusing on the best. So,
Same thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some can be credited a little differently. I mean, Sinister's is just Don Hertzfeld. As for all of us, we all had variations of multiple different 3 difference. So I think that is definitely a variable that should be looked at.
I threw in something I knew people wouldn't enjoy, if I would be boring.
Or thought about, yeah.
Adam and his boy, I had no idea what your guys' subjectives would have been for that. So that was a wild card.
And I was just excited for Kid in the Camera. Because
Yeah.
I think that might, well, no, I can't say that. But the newest thing to me.
Yeah.
Newest in history, I guess.
Fair enough.
Yes. 2022 or that's when it came out. Yeah.
Yeah. But even still, it's like I looked that up looking for shorts for the snake draft and found it. Versus all the history we've given is, I don't know if any of you have done something recently more than the snake draft itself for a short to find.
That brings up a great question. Springs, how many shorts did you go through finding, or I guess ending up on by Kid
The Kid in the Camera? 6 or 7?
Okay, so it was fairly early in on your
Yeah.
search then.
I was actually looking up Christmas shorts. And
Good thing you didn't commit a crime against humanity.
funny enough. One Christmas short was a little horror-like, and the next recommended was The Kid in the Camera.
Oof.
Fair enough.
Also, in case anyone's curious, because of things coming out, it would make sense for the holiday specials to be in this recap, but they're not. We'll cover those next recap.
Yep.
That was just a fluke, I guess, on all of our ends of scheduling. But we will touch on them. They'll just be in season 13 recap.
And I'm sure we loved every second of what we picked.
Do we have any other questions?
Just the final one, and Ryder, you got something?
No, I'm good. Throughout the final
All
one.
right. How'd the season go as a whole?
Well, I felt very slandered.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't make me feel good. I'm kidding.
You freaking sly fox.
Yeah. And like I said, it's not gonna go away anytime soon. I feel like Cap in Age of Ultron. You just know it's gonna stick around. And for God's sakes, watch your language. So yeah, I had a lot of fun this season. They've got quite the variety in the way that like Sinister's was all similar. The variety we all added kind of like really flushed out the season as a whole. We got some live action in there. We got several different kinds of animations in there, and just a lot. We even got our first music video. So I quite liked the diversity we had this season in terms of like what this
Variety and
season was.
range.
Yeah. So while it is weighted a little more high into the higher end, I do think this was a good season. I had a lot of fun with it just because it was so different. You never know what you're going to get if you didn't know what you were watching. You know.
Yeah, I like the little experimentation of something new that we did. I also think, I mean, we've done American Movie with Sinister. What was his? Trying to remember off the top of my head his other choices he did.
Chip and Dale.
Okay, not a bad thing.
Oh brother.
Oh brother, yeah. Oh brother, American
There's
Movie,
a
and
middle
Blade
one.
Runner.
Blade Runner, and there's something else, but yeah.
Yeah, of like choices he hosted. I think the shorts of Don Hertzfeld is the most passionate I've seen Sinister in doing something.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason
I
why
agree.
he picked 3 Don Hertzfeldt
Yeah.
shorts. You know, I agree. You could definitely feel the passion on him,
Yeah,
especially
but
when
how
he's
he like
talking about it.
relayed the facts and the care of how Mr. Hertzfeld does his animation and how that impacted Sinister, it just seemed like he was really into sharing that. So
Yeah.
that was cool to see.
Sensor likes a lot of the behind the scene efforts put into productions.
Evil Dead. That's what I'm thinking. Oh my god. I knew I was forgetting something.
Technically, that was my pick. We just wanted Sinister to
True.
host
I
'cause
mean,
we knew that he was going to want to host
yeah.
that. Um,
Yeah, for me, I think it went quite well. I would have enjoyed more stop motions because I think we only had the one I did, and
Yeah.
it's not a crazy stop motion. The boy and his Adam, so still counts technically, but
it would have been
that's
interesting
something
to.
I wish we could have got
Wasn't
more of in the short season.
Don Hertzfeld wasn't stop motion? I thought they had like a
That's
whole.
animation.
I thought he had a whole camera
Well, the
rig.
crinkled paper that's more used as an effect and not a way to tell a story.
Oh, I thought Sinister said there was like a whole rig that was made or something to do like. I thought it was like a single drawing, and then
I think the closest we get to stop motion, like in technicality, would be rejected with all the like them running across the papers and stuff like that.
oh, I said meaning. Yeah, that's rejected. The crinkled paper. Okay.
Yeah. Well, stop motion as in you have to move a physical object, take a picture, which I they're not technically stop motion. It's just animation.
Yeah.
What we saw with the Thunder's film.
Well, with that,
Like,
gentlemen,
we didn't get
shall
brown
we-
and purple or whatever their names were.
Brown and purple.
Or purple or brown, one of those two. Any fans of I think it was Nickelodeon might know that.
I'll say sure. I don't know what you're talking about, but okay.
Right.
Um, all right. Well, I can read us out now, gentlemen.
Sure. Read us
If you
out into
needed.
season 13.
All right. Thank you for listening, audience, whether it be Spotify, Anchor, Amazon, Castbox, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and Samsung. And if you're on the Rumble or YouTube side of things, our visuals, and you're watching our PNG YouTubers and our slideshow, we really appreciate it. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe everywhere. Tell us how much you hate our opinions. Tell us how much you love them. As always, I have been a geeky writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
We had a Sinister Boy, and I'm Sprinks.
And we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Unfortunately, we lost Sinister. Bye.
Toodaloo.